I never told my daughter about my $60,000 salary. Her husband said, "I'm ashamed of your poor mother. Let her leave." I left quietly. A month later, I emptied their bank. I'm glad you're here with me. Please like this video and listen to my story till the end, and let me know which city you're listening from. That way I can see how far my story has traveled. For 32 years, I worked as a senior financial analyst at Morrison & Klein. My salary was $60,000 annually, not a fortune, but comfortable. I lived modestly in my two-bedroom house in suburban Cleveland, drove a reliable Toyota, and never flaunted what I had. My daughter Rebecca never asked about my finances, and I never volunteered the information. Why would I? Money talks were always awkward in our family. Rebecca married Derek 3 years ago. He worked in sales, always wore expensive watches, and talked loudly about his deals. I smiled politely during family dinners, even when he dominated conversations with stories about clients and commissions. My daughter seemed happy, and that was enough for me. The first troubling sign came 6 months ago. Rebecca called, her voice tight with stress. "Mom, could you help us with the down payment?" "Just $5,000. Derek's commission got delayed." I transferred the money the next day. No questions asked. Isn't that what mothers do? 2 months later, another call. "Mom, Derek's car broke down. We need $3,000 for repairs." I sent it immediately. Then came the request for $2,000 for Rebecca's medical bills. Each time, I noticed Derek's new golf clubs in their garage, the designer handbags Rebecca carried, the expensive dinners they posted on social media. But I said nothing. Perhaps I was being judgmental. Last month, they invited me for Sunday dinner. I arrived at their McMansion, a house far too large for 2 people, carrying homemade apple pie. Derek greeted me at the door, his smile not quite reaching his eyes. "Margaret, come in, come in." He glanced at my 10-year-old Toyota. "Still driving that old thing?" During dinner, Derek dominated the conversation as usual. He talked about his latest sale, a luxury car he was considering, a vacation to Cancun they were planning. Rebecca nodded along, but I noticed the tension in her shoulders, the way she picked at her food. Then Derek leaned back in his chair, wine glass in hand, and looked at me with something like pity. "You know, Margaret, Rebecca and I have been talking. We're worried about you." "Worried?" I set down my fork. "Your financial situation." He exchanged a glance with Rebecca. Living alone in that small house, driving that ancient car. "We know money must be tight on your salary." My daughter's face flushed. "Derek." "No, honey, someone needs to say it." He turned back to me. "We want to help. Maybe you could move into a smaller apartment. We could help you budget better." I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "I manage just fine." "Mom never told us how much she makes," Rebecca said quietly, her eyes on her plate. Derek laughed, a sound without humor. "Well, it can't be much, can it? Look at how she lives." He took another sip of wine. "Honestly, Margaret, I'm embarrassed for you. Rebecca deserves better than having a poor mother. It reflects badly on us." The words hung in the air like poison gas. I looked at my daughter. She didn't defend me. She just sat there, face red, looking at her expensive china plates. Plates I'd helped pay for 2 months ago when she called crying about their tight month. "Derek," I said quietly, "I think you should stop talking." "Why? Because the truth hurts?" He leaned forward. "We've given you money advice. We've tried to help, but you're too proud. Maybe if you'd managed your life better, you wouldn't be struggling at your age." Something snapped inside me. Not with heat, but with ice-cold clarity. I stood up, folded my napkin precisely, and placed it beside my untouched plate. Where are you going?" Rebecca finally found her voice. I looked at my daughter, really looked at her. When had she become this person who sat silently while her husband insulted me? "Home," I said simply. "Mom, please, Derek didn't mean—" "Yes, he did." I picked up my purse. "Thank you for dinner." Derek smirked. "Running away won't change your situation, Margaret." I walked to the door without another word. Behind me, I heard Rebecca say, "Derek, that was too harsh." And his response, "Someone had to say it. Your mother needs a reality check." I drove home in silence. No tears, no rage, just a terrible, crystalline clarity. In my home office, I turned on my laptop and began looking at documents I hadn't reviewed in months: bank statements, investment portfolios, trust accounts. The numbers glowed on the screen: $847,000 in savings and investments, accumulated over 3 decades of careful planning. My paid-off house worth $310,000. My pension that would pay $48,000 annually starting next year. But there was something else. Something that made my blood run cold. I pulled up my bank account and started scrolling through the transactions from the past 6 months. Each transfer I'd made to Rebecca and Derek was there, highlighted in my banking app. $5,000, $3,000, $2,000. Another $1,500 I'd almost forgotten about. Emergency home repair, they'd said. Then $4,000 for Derek's business opportunity. $15,500 in 6 months. But that wasn't what made my hands shake as I held my coffee mug. It was the other transactions, ones I hadn't authorized. 3 weeks ago, $2,200 withdrawn from my savings account. The note said, "Transfer to R. Morrison," Rebecca's maiden name. How did she have access? Then I remembered. 2 years ago, she'd helped me set up online banking. "Just in case you need help, Mom," she'd said. I'd trusted her with my password. 2 months ago, $3,500. Same designation. 4 months ago, $1,800. I opened a spreadsheet, my analyst training kicking in despite the nausea rising in my throat. Unauthorized withdrawals, $7,500. Requested loans they'd never mentioned repaying, $15,500. Total, $23,000. $23,000. Taken by my own daughter and her husband. While he called me poor. I sat back in my chair, staring at the numbers. My home office suddenly felt very small, very quiet. The antique clock on my desk, a retirement gift from Morrison and Klein, ticked loudly. Outside, my neighbor's dog barked. Normal sounds, a normal evening, except nothing was normal anymore. Should I call Rebecca right now? Demand an explanation? Part of me wanted to. The mother part. The part that still remembered braiding her hair for school, teaching her to ride a bike, sitting up with her through college heartbreaks. But another part. The part that had spent 32 years analyzing financial patterns, identifying fraud, protecting corporate assets. That part told me to wait, to think, to plan. I made myself another cup of coffee. Chamomile tea felt too gentle for what I was feeling. I needed to think clearly, coldly. This wasn't just about money. This was betrayal. Systematic, calculated betrayal. They'd stolen from me while simultaneously humiliating me for being poor. Did Derek know about the unauthorized withdrawals? Or was this Rebecca's secret? Either way, they'd coordinated the humiliation. That dinner wasn't spontaneous. Derek's speech felt rehearsed. Rebecca's silence felt complicit. I opened my laptop again and started making notes. Old habit from my analyst days. Document everything. I took screenshots of every unauthorized transaction. I documented dates, amounts, and methods. I checked my account settings. Yes, Rebecca's name was still listed as a joint account holder, added for emergency access, an emergency she'd been creating herself. Then I checked something else, the accounts I'd set up for Rebecca when she was younger. A trust fund I'd established when she turned 21, initially with $50,000 from an inheritance from my father. Over the years, I'd added to it quietly. It was meant for her future, her security. The balance now, $127,000. She had access to view it but couldn't withdraw without my signature. At least, that's what the document said. I logged into that account, my heart pounding. Relief washed over me. The balance was intact. She hadn't touched it. Maybe she didn't know about it. No, that couldn't be. I'd mentioned it several times over the years. Perhaps she was saving it for something bigger. Or perhaps she wanted to maintain the appearance of not being financially secure to justify asking me for more. My phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca. "Mom, I'm sorry about tonight. Derek was stressed about work. Can we talk tomorrow?" I stared at the message. Not Derek was wrong. Not I should have defended you. Just excuses. And no mention of the money they'd stolen. I turned off my phone. For the next 2 hours, I sat at my desk planning. This required precision. I couldn't just confront them. They'd deny it, make excuses, probably gaslight me into thinking I'd given permission. Derek would spin it into more evidence of my confusion and financial struggles. No. I needed documentation. I needed leverage. I needed to understand the full scope of what they'd done. First step, secure my accounts. I logged into my bank and removed Rebecca's joint access. I changed all my passwords. I set up alerts for any attempted logins or transactions. If she tried to withdraw more money, I'd know immediately. Second step, gather more evidence. I needed to understand their financial situation. Why did they need my money? Derek claimed to be successful. They lived in an expensive house, drove nice cars. Where was all their money going? Third step, and this was the one that made me pause, made me question if I was overreacting. Investigate their finances. Was that too far? Was I becoming paranoid? Then I remembered Derek's smirk. "Running away won't change your situation, Margaret." No, I wasn't overreacting. I was just getting started. Monday morning, I walked into the offices of Hendricks and Associates, a law firm 3 blocks from my house. I'd made the appointment online the night before, barely sleeping. The receptionist, a young woman with kind eyes, smiled at me. "Mrs. Morrison, Mr. Hendricks will see you now." James Hendricks was in his 50s, with silver hair and the careful manner of someone who'd heard every family horror story imaginable. I sat across from his desk and laid out my printed bank statements. No emotion, just facts. That's how I'd presented to corporate boards for 30 years. These transactions, I pointed to the highlighted lines, were not authorized. This person had access to my account as an emergency contact. She used it to withdraw $7,500 over 4 months. Hendricks studied the documents through his reading glasses. "Your daughter?" "Yes." "And these other transfers? The ones marked as sent?" "Those I authorized, but they were described as loans, emergencies. None have been repaid." He made notes on a legal pad. "Do you have written agreements for repayment?" "No, it was family. I trusted them." "Of course." He looked up at me. "Mrs. Morrison, I need to be direct. Unauthorized access to accounts can constitute financial elder abuse, especially given the pattern here. However, prosecuting family members is complicated. Most people in your situation want to resolve this privately. What are my options? You could file a police report. Alternatively, we could send a formal legal letter demanding repayment and threatening civil action. That often motivates people to cooperate without involving criminal charges. He paused. May I ask, do you want to maintain a relationship with your daughter? I thought about Rebecca at age 6, showing me her first drawing. Rebecca at 16, crying about her first breakup. Rebecca at 25, introducing me to Derek, her eyes shining with hope. Then I thought about Rebecca last night, silent as her husband called me an embarrassment. I don't know, I said honestly, but I want my money back. All of it. And I want them to know that I know. Hendricks nodded. I'll draft a letter today. It will detail the unauthorized withdrawals, demand full repayment of $23,000 within 30 days, and threaten both civil litigation and a police report if they don't comply. He looked at me seriously. This will burn bridges, Mrs. Morrison. There's no going back from this. Good, I said. The letter was sent via certified mail on Tuesday. I also requested copies of all transaction records from my bank, formally documenting Rebecca's access dates and withdrawal patterns. The bank officer who helped me, a middle-aged woman named Patricia, shook her head sympathetically. This happens more than you'd think. Adult children with access to elderly parents' accounts. I'm 63, not elderly, I said sharply. She blushed. I apologize. I just meant, I know what you meant. I softened my tone. Thank you for your help. But her words stayed with me. Is that how people saw me? Elderly? Vulnerable? Is that how Derek saw me? How Rebecca saw me? Thursday afternoon, my phone exploded with messages. Rebecca. Mom. What is this? A legal letter? How could you do this to us? Derek. This is insane, Margaret. You're going to destroy this family over money you gave us freely. Rebecca. We're coming over to talk right now. I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded all the messages to Mr. Hendricks with a note. Please document for our records. An hour later, someone pounded on my front door. I looked through the peephole. Rebecca and Derek stood on my porch, Rebecca's face blotchy with tears. Derek's jaw clenched tight. I didn't open the door. Mom! Mom! I know you're in there! Open the door! Rebecca's voice was high, desperate. Margaret, be reasonable, Derek shouted. We can explain everything. I sat on my couch, watching them through the window's sheer curtains. My phone rang continuously. I ignored it. After 20 minutes, they left. But Derek turned at the end of my walkway and looked directly at my window. Even from this distance, I could see the anger in his expression. Not remorse, not shame. Anger. That night, Rebecca sent a long text. Mom, you don't understand. Yes, I accessed your account a few times, but only when we were desperate. Derek's commission checks kept getting delayed. We have a mortgage. You always said family helps family. I was going to pay you back. And the money you sent us, those were gifts. You can't take back gifts. Please, let's talk about this like adults. This lawyer letter is crazy. People will think you're senile, that you're confused. Is that what you want? I read it 3 times. Each sentence, a manipulation. Each word, a justification. No apology. No acknowledgement of theft. Just excuses and threats. I saved the text, forwarded it to Hendricks, and blocked their numbers. That was my point of no return. Friday morning, I received a call from Mr. Hendricks. They've responded, through their own attorney. My stomach tightened. They hired a lawyer? Derek's family apparently has a lawyer on retainer. The response is aggressive. They're claiming all money was given as gifts, that you never indicated they were loans, and that the authorized account access was explicitly for Rebecca to help you manage your finances due to your advancing age and confusion. Heat flooded my face. Advancing age and confusion? I managed corporate portfolios for 30 years. I know. It's a standard defense strategy. They're also threatening to file for guardianship over you, claiming you're mentally unstable and making irrational financial decisions. The room spun. Guardianship. It's a threat, Mrs. Morrison, likely empty. But it tells us they're scared. Scared people fight dirty. He paused. There's more. They're alleging you promised to help them financially, that you encouraged their home purchase knowing they'd need support, and that you're now reneging on family commitments out of spite. I closed my eyes. This was Derek's work. The sales tactics, the spin, the reframing. He was good at this. What do? I asked. We document everything. Every email, text, call. We get character witnesses. We show that you're financially competent and independent, and we prepare for them to escalate. He was right about escalation. Saturday morning, Derek called from a number I hadn't blocked, his work cell. I answered without thinking. Margaret, we need to talk, face to face. I don't think... Listen to me. His voice was hard, controlled. You're making a huge mistake. You think you're protecting yourself, but you're destroying Rebecca. Do you know she's been crying for 3 days? She's your daughter, your only child. Is money really worth losing her? Derek, you stole from me. We borrowed. There's a difference. And you knew about Rebecca checking the account. You said it was fine. For emergencies. Real emergencies. Not to fund your lifestyle while you called me poor. Silence. Then, softer. I apologized for that. I was drunk. I said things I didn't mean. You haven't apologized. Not once. I'm apologizing now. Margaret, please, let's sit down, all 3 of us. We'll work out a payment plan. But you have to drop this legal threat. It's humiliating. Rebecca's friends know. My colleagues know. You're embarrassing us. I'm embarrassing you? The laugh that came out of me sounded foreign, harsh. You stole $23,000 and I'm embarrassing you. We didn't steal anything. His voice rose. You gave us that money. And if you try to claim otherwise, we'll fight you. We'll show everyone that you're confused, that you're making accusations because you're lonely and bitter. Is that what you want? You'll end up in a care facility while we have guardianship. Think about it. He hung up. I sat there, phone trembling in my hand. Was he right? Would people believe I was confused? I was 63, lived alone, had no other family. Would a judge appoint them as guardians? Could they actually take control of my life? For the first time since this started, I felt real fear. That afternoon, Derek and Rebecca showed up again. This time they had Derek's mother with them, Linda, a woman I'd always gotten along with at family gatherings. They knocked, rang the doorbell, called through the mail slot. Margaret, it's Linda. Please, let's talk. Family doesn't solve problems through lawyers. I watched through the curtains. Linda looked genuinely concerned. Rebecca was crying. Derek stood slightly behind them, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Mom, Rebecca sobbed. Please, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, but this is killing me. You're my mother. How can you do this to me? The guilt was a physical weight. Was I overreacting? She was my daughter, my only child. Maybe we could work this out. Maybe. Then I saw Derek's hand on Rebecca's shoulder, squeezing, directing, controlling. And I saw Rebecca glance at him before crying harder, as if on cue. Performance. This was all performance. I didn't open the door. They finally left. Derek's expression as he walked away was pure fury. That night, I didn't sleep. Every sound made me jump. What if they came back? What if they broke in? What if Derek's threat about guardianship was real? Sunday, I drove to a hotel. Just for a few nights. Just until I felt safe again. I needed distance. I needed to think clearly without fear of them showing up. At the hotel desk, the clerk smiled. Reservation for Morrison? Yes, 3 nights, please. I spent those 3 days resting, walking in a park nearby, eating quiet meals, not answering calls from unknown numbers, letting my mind settle. By Wednesday, the fear had transformed into something else. Cold, determined resolve. On Thursday morning, I returned home to find a gift basket on my doorstep. Expensive chocolates, wine, cheese. A card read, "Mom, we love you. Please forgive us. Let's start over. Rebecca." I brought it inside and threw it in the trash. The card, too. An hour later, flowers arrived. 24 roses. Another card. Family is forever. Don't let pride destroy us. I called the florist and told them to stop accepting orders for my address. Friday, a letter came, not via certified mail, just regular post. Rebecca's handwriting on expensive stationery. "Dear Mom, I've been thinking about everything that's happened. You're right to be hurt. I should have asked permission before accessing your account. I was scared and desperate, and I made bad choices. Derek and I are struggling financially. His company cut commissions by 40% last quarter, and we're behind on our mortgage. We didn't want to worry you. The things Derek said at dinner were cruel and wrong. He's promised to apologize in person. He's been under tremendous stress, but that's no excuse. Please, can we talk? Just you and me? No lawyers, no Derek, just mother and daughter? I miss you. I miss Sunday dinners and our talks. I miss my mom. I'll pay back every penny. I promise. But please don't throw away our relationship over money. You're all I have. Love always, Rebecca." I read it twice. It was good. Persuasive. The details about Derek's commission cuts added credibility. The daughter-to-mother appeal tugged at something deep inside me. Then I noticed something. The stationery. Expensive, embossed, probably $40 for a box. The same woman who claimed to be desperate and behind on mortgage had expensive stationery. I took a photo of the letter and emailed it to Mr. Hendricks with a note. Documentation. His response came within an hour. Good instincts. Save everything. They're building a paper trail to show they tried to reconcile while you remained unreasonable. Don't respond. I didn't. But Saturday, I realized I needed support. Real support. I couldn't fight this battle alone, surrounded by silence and doubt. I called Helen, my friend from Morrison and Klein. We'd worked together for 15 years before she retired early to travel. She lived in Columbus now, about 2 hours away, but we'd stayed in touch through emails and occasional lunches. "Margaret, it's been months. How are you? Helen, I need advice, and maybe just someone to tell me I'm not crazy." I told her everything. The dinner, the theft, the legal letters, the threats of guardianship, the gifts and apologies now arriving daily. Helen listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then, "That son of a bitch." "Which one?" "Both. Margaret, you're doing exactly the right thing. Don't you dare back down." "But what if they're right? What if I'm overreacting? She's my daughter." "She's an adult who stole from you. Listen to me. I've seen this before. My sister-in-law went through something similar with her son. They start with small amounts, then bigger ones. They test boundaries. And when you finally push back, they play victim and accuse you of being the problem. They're threatening guardianship. That's bullshit. Empty threat. You're financially sophisticated, mentally sharp, and independent. No judge would grant guardianship unless you were truly incapacitated. They're trying to scare you. Her certainty was like oxygen. You really think so? I know so. Margaret, I want you to do something for me. Make a list of 5 people who know you well, colleagues, neighbors, friends, people who can attest to your competence. Get their contact information. If this goes to court, they'll be your witnesses. That afternoon, I made the list. Helen Patterson, former colleague, friend Dr. Sarah Kim, my physician for 12 years. Robert Chen, my former supervisor at Morrison and Klein Patricia Walsh, my neighbor for 8 years. Father Michael Torres, priest at my church, though I only attended occasionally. I called each one, briefly explaining the situation. Every single person offered immediate support, Dr. Kim said. Margaret, I'll write a letter about your health and cognitive status. No charge. What they're doing is elder abuse. Patricia Walsh said, I see you every week, Margaret. You maintain your home. You drive. You're sharp as a tack. If you need me to testify, I will. Robert Chen said, I'd trust you to manage my portfolio right now. Those kids don't know who they're messing with. By Sunday evening, I had written statements from all 5 people. Professional, detailed, unshakable. Monday morning, I sent them to Mr. Hendricks. His response was immediate. Excellent. This is exactly what we need. How are you holding up? I thought about the question. How was I holding up? I'm angry, I typed back. But I'm also clear. For the first time in months, maybe years, I'm absolutely clear about what needs to happen. Good, he replied. Because they're not done yet. Be prepared. Tuesday evening, I was making dinner when the doorbell rang. I checked the peephole. Rebecca stood alone on my porch, no Derek in sight. She looked smaller somehow, wearing jeans and a simple sweater, nothing designer. Her eyes were red. I hesitated. This was the moment I'd been dreading. Not Derek's anger, but Rebecca's pain. I opened the door but kept the chain lock engaged. Mom, her voice broke. Please, just 5 minutes. Rebecca, I came alone. Derek doesn't even know I'm here. Please. Against my better judgment, I removed the chain. She stepped inside, and I saw her glance around my small entryway, as if seeing it for the first time in years. Or perhaps seeing it differently now that she knew what I was worth. We sat in my living room. I didn't offer tea or coffee. This wasn't a social visit. Mom, I've been thinking a lot. Rebecca twisted her hands in her lap. About everything. About how I treated you, how I let Derek treat you. I waited. You're right. I should have defended you at that dinner. I should have stopped him. I was a coward. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I've been a terrible daughter. I got so caught up in trying to keep up with Derek's lifestyle, with his friends, with appearances. I lost sight of what matters. Did Derek's commission really get cut? I asked quietly. She looked away. Yes, but not by 40%, maybe 15%. So you lied in your letter. I exaggerated. Her voice was small. Mom, we're drowning. The mortgage is $4,200 a month. Derek's car payment is $890. We have credit card debt, over $60,000. We're trying to maintain this image, this life, and we can't afford it. We never could. Part of me wanted to comfort her. Part of me wanted to say, I'll help you. But I thought about the stolen $7,500. The humiliation at dinner, The threats of guardianship. Why didn't you just tell me the truth? I asked. Why steal? Why humiliate me? Rebecca wiped her eyes. Derek said. She stopped herself. No, I can't blame him. I made my own choices. I was embarrassed, ashamed. We sold you this story about Derek being successful, about us having it all together. Admitting we were failing felt impossible. So you took my money and called me poor instead. She flinched. I never called you poor. You sat there while your husband did. Silently. That's the same thing, Rebecca. I know. Her voice was barely a whisper. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'll pay back every penny. I'll get a second job. I'll sell things. Whatever it takes. But please, can we fix this? Can we go back to how things were? And there it was, the question I'd been avoiding. Could we? Did I even want to? How things were, I said slowly, involved you having access to my accounts, stealing from me, lying to me, participating in my humiliation. You want to go back to that? No, I want to rebuild from a better place, honestly this time. I studied my daughter's face. She looked sincere, broken, repentant. Then I noticed her purse. New, designer, probably $800 at least. Is that purse new? I asked. Rebecca's hand went to it reflexively. This? No, I've had it for... Don't lie to me anymore, Rebecca, please. She deflated. Derek bought it for me last week. He said I needed something nice to... She stopped, face flushing. To what? To wear when we came to talk to you. He said you'd respond better if I looked put together. Professional. Something cold crystallized in my chest. So this visit was planned. With Derek. He's probably waiting in the car, isn't he? Mom, no. I walked to the window. Sure enough, Derek's car was parked down the street, engine running. I turned back to Rebecca. Get out! Mom, please! You came here to manipulate me. Everything you just said, the tears, the confession, the promises, it was all scripted. Derek is waiting outside to see if you succeeded. It wasn't like that. Then why is he here? Why did he buy you a new purse for this conversation? Why are you still lying to me? My voice rose despite myself. I am your mother. I deserve basic respect, basic honesty. Rebecca stood, her own anger finally surfacing. You want honesty? Fine. Yes, Derek helped me plan what to say. Yes, he's outside, because you won't talk to us. You've shut us out completely. What were we supposed to do? Not steal from me. Not threaten me with guardianship. Not show up with rehearsed apologies and designer accessories while claiming to be broke. We are broke. This purse was charged to a credit card we can't pay. Everything is falling apart. She was shouting now. And instead of helping us like family should, you're hiring lawyers and making threats. What happened to you? When did you become so cold? The words struck like a slap. Cold. Is that what I'd become? Then I remembered the bank statements, the unauthorized withdrawals, the humiliation. I became cold, I said quietly, when my daughter stole from me and let her husband call me an embarrassment. Rebecca's face crumpled. I said I was sorry. Sorry isn't enough. Actions have consequences, Rebecca. Choices have consequences. You chose Derek's lifestyle over your integrity. You chose theft over honesty. Now you're choosing manipulation over genuine repentance. I am being genuine. Then leave Derek, right now. Walk out to that car and tell him you're staying here, with me, and that you'll fix this on your own terms. Show me you choose me over him. Rebecca stared at me, mouth open. I can't do that. Then we have nothing more to discuss. Mom. Goodbye, Rebecca. She stood there for another moment, torn. I could see the war on her face. Then her expression hardened. The moment passed. "You'll regret this," she said. "Derek was right. You are cold and bitter. We tried to make peace. We tried to apologize. But you'd rather be right than have a family." She walked to the door. Before leaving, she turned back. "When you're alone and miserable, remember you chose this." The door slammed. I sat down, hands shaking. Not with fear this time, with rage, with clarity. I picked up my phone and texted Mr. Hendricks. They attempted manipulation with scripted apology. Derek was waiting outside, everything recorded, proceeding as planned. His response: "Good. Stay strong. We file suit on Friday." I wasn't backing down. Not now. Not ever. The lawsuit was filed Friday morning. I sued Rebecca and Derek for $23,000 plus legal fees, citing unauthorized access to financial accounts and breach of fiduciary duty. Mr. Hendricks assured me it was solid. The bank records are damning. They can't dispute the unauthorized withdrawals. Monday, I received a subpoena to appear for a deposition. So did Derek and Rebecca. The date was set for 3 weeks out. During those 3 weeks, the phone calls and texts intensified from their friends, Derek's family, even people I barely knew. Each message a variation of the same theme. How could you do this to your own daughter? Family should forgive. You're tearing them apart over money. I blocked every number, forwarded every message to my lawyer. Then, 10 days before the deposition, something unexpected happened. My doorbell rang at 9 a.m. I opened it to find a well-dressed woman in her 50s carrying a briefcase. "Mrs. Morrison, I'm Jennifer Caldwell, Derek's mother's attorney. May I come in?" Not Linda's. Derek's mother's attorney. Interesting. I let her in, but remained standing. "What is this about?" "Mrs. Morrison, I'll be direct. Linda Caldwell hired me after learning the full extent of what her son has been doing. She's mortified. She had no idea he'd been stealing from you or that he'd threatened you with guardianship." I blinked. "Linda sent you?" "Yes. She wants you to know she doesn't condone Derek's behavior. She's also willing to testify on your behalf, if needed." Jennifer pulled out a folder. "But more importantly, she hired a forensic accountant to examine Derek and Rebecca's finances. What we found is troubling." She laid out documents on my coffee table. Bank statements, credit card bills, loan documents. Derek and Rebecca are in debt to the tune of $340,000. The house is mortgaged to 95% of its value. They have 17 credit cards, all maxed out. Derek has been taking cash advances to pay minimum payments on other cards. She pointed to highlighted sections. He's also been embezzling from his company. Small amounts, but consistent. $500 here, $1,200 there. It's been going on for 8 months. My stomach turned. Does his company know? Not yet, but they will. Linda found the evidence and reported it herself. She's disgusted. Jennifer looked at me seriously. Derek is facing criminal charges for embezzlement, likely within the next week. His career is over. And Rebecca? Is either willfully blind or complicit. Hard to say. But Mrs. Morrison, here's why I'm here. Linda wants to offer you a settlement. She'll pay the full $23,000 you're owed, plus your legal fees, immediately. In exchange, you drop the lawsuit against Derek and Rebecca. Why would she do that? Because she's ashamed of her son. Because she likes you. And because she knows that when Derek is arrested, Rebecca will have no one. Linda hopes that by settling your claim, you might, eventually, be able to reconcile with your daughter. That's up to you. But at least the money won't be an issue. I sat down, processing this. When is Derek being arrested? Probably Wednesday. His employer is working with law enforcement now. Does Derek know? No, neither does Rebecca. I thought about Derek's smirk at dinner, his threats, his manipulation, and now this, embezzlement, criminal charges, his whole life collapsing. I'll accept Linda's offer, I said. On one condition. She tells Derek and Rebecca nothing until after he's arrested. I want them to face the deposition, believing they still have the upper hand. Jennifer smiled slightly. Linda anticipated you might say something like that. She agrees. We shook hands. The settlement papers would be drawn up by the end of day. But the real reckoning was still coming. Wednesday, 2 p.m. The deposition. I sat across from Derek and Rebecca at a conference table in Mr. Hendricks's office. A court reporter typed silently in the corner. Derek's lawyer, a slick young man named Brad, sat next to them looking confident. Derek looked tired but defiant. Rebecca looked scared. Brad started. Mrs. Morrison, isn't it true that you willingly gave money to your daughter and son-in-law on multiple occasions? I was asked for loans. I agreed. Loans require documentation of intent to repay. Do you have any such documentation? No, I trusted my family. So you admit these were gifts, not loans? I admit I didn't expect my daughter to steal from me on top of the money I freely gave. Derek leaned forward. We didn't steal. Brad put a hand on his arm. Let me handle this, Derek. Mr. Hendricks slid documents across the table. These are bank records showing unauthorized withdrawals from Mrs. Morrison's account. Rebecca Morrison's credentials were used. The IP address traces to the Morrison-Jenkins household. Please explain how these aren't theft. Brad's confidence flickered. He whispered with Derek and Rebecca. Rebecca's face went pale as she looked at the documents. My client was authorized to access that account, Brad said, for emergencies, not for personal use, and certainly not without permission. Hendricks was cold, precise. We have Mrs. Morrison's statements. We have character witnesses. We have bank testimony. What do you have? Derek's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, frowned. Then his face went white. He stood abruptly. I need to take this. Mr. Jenkins, we're in the middle of... Brad started, but Derek was already at the door, phone to his ear. Through the glass wall, we watched his expression cycle through confusion, anger, panic. He came back in, face ashen. We need to pause this. Something's come up at work. Derek, we can't just... Rebecca said. Now, Rebecca, his voice cracked. That's when two people in suits appeared in the office doorway. Derek Jenkins? Yes? I'm Detective Martinez, Columbus PD. You need to come with us. You're under arrest for embezzlement and fraud. The room erupted. Rebecca screamed. Brad jumped up, demanding explanations. Derek just stood there, frozen, as the detectives read him his rights and cuffed him. As they led him away, Derek looked back at me, not with anger, with something worse. Recognition. He finally understood. I hadn't been the vulnerable one. He had. The deposition was rescheduled, of course. Derek was in jail, unable to make bail. $50,000, which neither he nor Rebecca could afford. Linda refused to pay it. Let him sit there and think about what he's done, she told me over the phone. Rebecca called me 17 times that night. I didn't answer. Finally, at midnight, she left a voicemail. Her voice was wrecked, broken. Mom, please. Derek's in jail. They're saying he stole from his company. They're saying he could go to prison for 5 years. I don't know what to do. I can't afford the mortgage alone. I can't afford anything. Please, I need help. I need my mother. I listened to it once, then saved it, and went to bed. The next morning, Mr. Hendricks called. Linda Caldwell's payment cleared. You now have $23,000 plus $4,200 in legal fees. The lawsuit is satisfied. Good. There's more. Derek's employer is filing their own lawsuit for $87,000 in stolen funds. His assets will be seized. The house will likely go into foreclosure. Rebecca's looking at bankruptcy. And criminally? Derek will plead guilty. His lawyer already reached out to the DA about a plea deal. Probably 2 to 3 years in prison, restitution, probation. 2 to 3 years. Derek would be in prison. The man who called me poor, who threatened me with guardianship, who manipulated my daughter into stealing from me, would be in prison. I felt nothing, no satisfaction, no pity, just emptiness. What about Rebecca? I asked. She's not being charged. There's no evidence she knew about the embezzlement. And our lawsuit is settled, so… He paused. She's free. Broke, but free. That afternoon, Rebecca appeared at my door. She didn't knock. She just sat on my porch steps, arms wrapped around herself, crying. I watched her through the window for 20 minutes. Finally, I opened the door. Rebecca. She looked up, face swollen, eyes hollow. He's going to prison. Yes, he told me. He told me he was successful, that his commissions were great, that we could afford everything. Her voice was flat, exhausted. I believed him. I believed everything, and now I have nothing. You believed him when he called me poor. You believed him when he said we should take guardianship over me. You believed him when he coached you to manipulate me with fake apologies. I know. She wasn't defending herself anymore. I know what I did. I know what I am. What are you, Rebecca? She looked at me, and for the first time in years, I saw my daughter, really saw her, beneath all the pretense and performance. Weak, she whispered. I'm weak. I sat down on the porch steps beside her, not touching, just present. What happens now? She asked. Derek pleads guilty. Goes to prison. You lose the house. File for bankruptcy. Start over. I can't start over. I'm 42 years old with no money, no home, no husband, and my mother hates me. I don't hate you. She looked at me surprised. I'm angry. I'm hurt. I'm disappointed. But I don't hate you, Rebecca. You're my daughter. That doesn't just disappear. Even after everything? Even after everything. I paused. But I won't be your safety net anymore. I won't enable you. I won't rescue you from consequences you earned. I understand. Do you? Because you've spent 3 years running from consequences. Spending money you didn't have. Taking money from me. Letting Derek control you. Being weak, as you said. Understanding means changing. Not just saying you will. Actually doing it. Rebecca wiped her face. I don't know how. You start by being honest. With yourself, with everyone. You get a job, any job. You rent a small apartment. You live within your means. You go to therapy. You figure out who you are without Derek, without money, without pretense. Will you… She hesitated. Will you help me? No. The word hung between us. You need to do this alone, I continued. Not because I don't love you, but because you need to prove to yourself that you can, that you're not weak, that you can rebuild your life without leaning on anyone. Rebecca nodded slowly. And then, maybe, we try again, slowly, carefully, with honesty, with boundaries, with respect. I can do that. Her voice was small but steady. I will do that. She stood up. I should go. I need to call the mortgage company, start the foreclosure process. Rebecca, she turned. The trust fund I set up for you years ago, the $127,000, it's still there. I didn't touch it. Her eyes widened. But I'm changing the terms. You can't access it for 2 years. And when you do, you'll need to show me you've been employed for at least 18 months, that you're living independently, and that you're in therapy. Those are my conditions. Tears spilled down her face. Mom, thank you. Don't thank me yet. Prove you deserve it. She nodded and walked away. I watched her leave, knowing I'd done the right thing. The hard thing, but the right thing. 6 months later, my life had transformed completely. I joined an investment club for women over 60, 12 smart women who met monthly. They knew my story and embraced me without judgment. I also started volunteering at a legal aid clinic, helping seniors protect themselves from financial exploitation. It gave me purpose and peace. I redecorated my house, painted the kitchen yellow, planted a garden. This was my space now, mine alone. Helen and I took trips, Chicago, Charleston, things I'd put off for years. Now I spent my money on myself, and it felt wonderful. Meanwhile, Derek's life collapsed. 3 years in prison for embezzlement. His employer won an $87,000 judgment. His reputation destroyed. Linda visited him once, then cut contact. Rebecca lost everything: foreclosure, bankruptcy. For 2 months, she lived in her car. Then she found a waitressing job, rented a tiny room for $600 a month, took the bus to work, lived on ramen. Linda sent updates. She's showing up. 3 months in, Rebecca started therapy. 4 months in, she got a second job. 5 months in, she paid Linda back for her first therapy session. I felt pride, but I didn't reach out. At 6 months, Rebecca sent a handwritten letter. Mom, I work 60 hours a week. I live in a 10 by 12 room, and I'm happier than I've been in years. Not because poverty is noble, because I'm honest now. I'm just Rebecca, 42, divorced, broke, starting over. I'm in therapy, learning about codependency, about how I betrayed you. I'm choosing integrity now. I know you said 2 years before the trust fund. I might not need it. I'm building something real. I miss you. But I understand if you never want to see me again. I just wanted you to know I'm becoming someone you might be proud of. Love, Rebecca. I read it 3 times, folded it carefully, and put it in my drawer. I didn't respond. Not yet. But I didn't throw it away either. Some of you might think I was too harsh. That family deserves endless chances. That forgiveness means forgetting. I disagree. Love doesn't mean accepting abuse. Family doesn't mean surrendering your dignity. Forgiveness doesn't mean erasing boundaries. I taught my daughter the most important lesson of her life. Actions have consequences. Respect must be earned. Trust, once broken, requires time and effort to rebuild. Was it worth it? Losing years with my daughter? Watching her struggle? Yes, because the alternative was enabling her destruction. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone fall and trust they'll find the strength to stand back up. What would you have done? Thank you for listening to my story.
Did you enjoy my story? What a journey it has been. I truly wonder, what would you have done if you were in my shoes? Would you have chosen silence to keep the peace, or would you have done what I did to reclaim your dignity? Let's meet in the comments below. I'm so curious to hear your thoughts. I'm reading every single one. Which city are you listening from tonight? If my story resonated with you, you can support me and help me bring more stories like this to the world by sending a super thanks. Your sweet support means the world to me and allows me to continue this journey with all of you. On the screen now, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend you watch next. There are so many more on my channel, each with its own lessons and triumphs. Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss a new chapter. Thank you for being here with me. Until the next story, with love and respect.